So, Euphoria season 3 is already one of the most talked about seasons of the show. But not for the reasons you might expect, because this time it's not the story, the drama, or even characters getting all the attention, it's the music. And fans, yeah, they are not holding back. For the first two seasons of Euphoria, the soundtrack was handled by Labyrinth, and honestly, it became one of the defining elements of the entire show. That haunting, emotional, almost hypnotic sound, it was Euphoria. But in season 3, everything changed. Labyrinth is out, and in his place is none other than Hans Zimmer. Yeah, that Hans Zimmer, the Oscar winning composer behind massive films like Interstellar and Dark Knight. On paper, that sounds like a huge upgrade, but reality fans are confused. After episode 3 dropped, social media basically exploded with reactions, and not in a good way. A lot of viewers are saying the score just doesn't fit the show anymore. Some even joke that it sounds like it belongs in a completely different series. Like instead of gritty train drama, it feels more like you're watching something set in a jungle or even a White Lotus. And once you hear that comparison, it's kind of hard to unhear it, because the biggest issue isn't that the music isn't bad, it just feels disconnected. Euphoria has always been deeply tied to its sound. Labyrinth's music wasn't just background noise, it was part of the storytelling. It reflected the characters' emotion, their struggle, their highs and lows. And so when you suddenly swap that out for something completely different, it's going to feel jarring. And that brings us to why this change even happened in the first place. Labyrinth didn't just quietly step away, he actually spoke about it. He said he chose to remove his work from the new season, hinting at creative issues and tension behind the scenes. According to him, the collaborative environment that once defined the show started to fall apart. At one point, he even said that he felt like his involvement had become disposable. That's a pretty strong statement. On the other side, series creator Sam Levinson had completely different vision for season 3. He wanted something bigger, something more cinematic. In fact, he described this season as having a kind of western feel, less focused on pop music and more on sweeping atmospheric scoring, and that's exactly what Hans Zimmer delivered. Levinson even pointed to inspirations like True Romance and Interstellar, aiming for sound that feels expansive, emotional, and almost timeless. Which sounds great in theory, but in practice, fans aren't totally buying it, because while characters in Euphoria may have grown up, the identity of the show was always tied to its raw, intimate vibe, and a big part of that came from its music. Now, with this new direction, it feels like the show is trying to reinvent itself, and not everyone is on board. That said, it's still early. Sometimes bold creative changes takes time to click, and there's always a chance that as the season progresses, the music will start to feel more natural within the story. But right now, the reaction is pretty clear. Fans miss Labyrinth, and no matter how legendary Hans Zimmer is, replacing something that iconic was never going to be easy. So the real question is, will this new direction eventually win people over, or will it end up being one of those changes that never just quite fits? Either way, one thing's certain: for better or worse, Euphoria doesn't sound like itself anymore. Thank you for watching. Bye.